Uh, Good morning, class. I'm Barasa Joseph. I'll take you through introduction to computer, start computer, and I've got some objective here that as a learner you need to achieve. So objective number one, you need to define the term computer. Second, you need to explain the terminology used in computer. That you need to explain classification of computers. That is according to physical size, the way they process data, by purpose, and by use. So let's define the term computer. And we define a computer as an electronic machine that takes in data, that is the raw facts, and process data to give out an information as an output. So the information that is given as an output, it comes from the raw facts. Then it processed by the computer to provide a meaningful information. So we have some terminologies here that we need to define that are mostly used in computer. The first terminology is data. And we define data as the raw facts that are given or entered into the computer so that to produce information. We have an example here. Example of data, we say that we can say that in a school, you have the number of students in a class, have number of teachers and names of students, and the name of customers in the business. Those are example of data. Another terminology, we have information, and we define information as these are the processed data. So data that have been processed and produce and give out an output, it is called information. And information can be defined as data computed into a more useful form than the raw form. After that, we have another terminology that will define it. It is called a program. And we define a program as a series of instructions written in the language of a computer for them to obey and to perform a specific task in outlined by the instruction. So the program, or we can define a program as an instruction that are entered into a computer. So we have some basic steps that you need to undergo or you need to follow before the data entered into a computer are displayed and provide an output of it. So the first step, number one, we have input process, and we define the input process as the user will type the data from the say keyboard, and the computer will accept that data, store it in a memory for processing. Second step, we have storage, and we say that the storage, the data that is fed into the computer at some time is held even during the process, during the time of processing and after processing. So the storage in storage step, the data is being stored for a period of time before it is processed. So next step we have processing, that is step number 3. And we say that in the processing stage, the computer will manipulate the data held within it to a more useful form that result into an information. So in processing stage, the raw facts that are entered into the computer are processed to provide a meaningful information. Then lastly, we have the output. And we say that the output, the data that is given by the user in the computer that, that has been processed and displayed. So after steps of data processing, we have information processing cycle. And we have some various steps here. Some terms that here we need that are used. Number one, organizing data for processing. We say that to get quality result, that is information, you must have quality data to start with. And reliable original data generates an reliable result. If you give a computer a garbage, then the output of it still remain a garbage. Second one, you have information processing cycle. And we say that information processing cycle includes series of steps for transforming data into a meaningful information for data for people. Sorry. So in information processing, so it is where the information that entered or the raw facts that are entered by the user are processed to provide a meaningful information to the user. Then lastly, we have a circle. Now we are going to define a circle. And we define a circle as a sequence of activities performed in an order that it produces unexpected and meaningful results. So next step, we want to talk about function of standard circle processing of data and delivery of information. And we have some various steps, as earlier we mentioned various steps of data processing. So we want to talk about each and every function of each steps. So number one, we have input function. And we said that the input function, it gathers and collects data stored it gathers and collects stored data items and enter them into the system for processing. The input can come from any sources, for example, from file kept in an office, from banking institution, from school accounts, from libraries, and so on. Next one, we talk about the storage function. So we said that these functions allow the user to store data being processed in the memory of a computer as well as to store the information for future use. So the function of the storage, it allows the user to store his information for a period of time before it is processed. Number, number three, we have the processing function, and we say that the desired operation by the user is carried out on the data key in and stored in the memory so as in turn it in a meaningful information. So the main function of processing, it allows the people or the use of a computer to enter in his data or item that has been collected. It's stored in the memory for a period of time. After that, in the processing stage, that data it is processed or manipulated into meaningful information. So the last step, as we mentioned earlier, is the output. So we want to know the function of output step. So we say that the data stored in processed and the data that is stored after processing, it is given out as an output. So in output, the data can be either in soft copy, can be displayed either in soft copy or hard copy. Now, class, we want to talk about the classification of computers, and there are four main basic ways by which you can classify the computer. First one, we can classify it under physical side. That is how large the computer is. Second, by the way they process data. That we can classify computer by purpose. And lastly, we can classify computer by use. And there is another one, we can say we can classify computer under age. You have first generation, second, third, and fourth generation. So we will start with physical size. And we say that the following computer systems are categorized by how large they are. Number one, under physical size, we have supercomputer. It sometimes referred as a monster or a max computer. These are computers of enormous power and are large in size. Its installation requires a special floor to carry out its weight, and it also needs a special plumbing to carry out a fluid known as fluorocarbon needed to cool it. They are typically used, so we use the supercomputer mostly in scientific research, we have military application, we have petroleum engineering, we have nuclear physics, and lastly we have meteorology. So most we use supercomputer are mainly used for research. So second, we have mainframe computers, and we say that the mainframe computer are a second in size after the supercomputer. And we said that this computer perform more data processing work than any other types of computer. For this reason, they form a large portion of installation in most organizations. Mainframe computers can be used by more than one person at the same time, since they can support large number of network of other computers in an organization. So we use mainframe computers mostly in banks. You have bank government agency, you have commercial, you have industrial agency. So after that, we have the main computer. They are also called the medium-sized computer. These computers are compared to mainframe and are small, slower, and less expensive. The main computers has advantage over the previous two, that is the supercomputers and the mainframe computer, since it does not have any special power or environment control requirement. So for this reason, the medium-sized computer can always be located anywhere within the organization. The main computer can do the work that the mainframe does, but on a small scale. You have a picture of it, you can have a look at it on it. So class, lastly we have microcomputers. And we said that microcomputers get its name from the fact that it is the main computing component. The microprocessor, that is to be introduced later, we will talk about later. It is located in one of integrated circuit, or what we call it a chip. The microcomputer fit it nicely on desktop. For that reason, they are sometimes called the desktop computer. So microcomputer, they are also called personal computers since many individuals purchase them for personal use. So an example of microcomputer, you can say that a desktop, you have a laptop. So those are under categories of microcomputer. Now we will talk about the categories of computer by use, classification of computers by use, how the computers are classified by use. And we say that it is worth noting that we recognize these computers according to what it is used for and when it is used for. Under these categories, you have many lists in endless. So we start mentioning each and every one in our next slide. So our first category have personal computer or desktop computer. And we said that they are also known as microcomputer. They get their names from the fact that they fit nicely on a desktop. They can also be used on desktop in office environment or for personal use. Second, we have home-based computer, and we said that these are computers that are designed to be used at home. An individual may install only a games program on it or a word processor to enable him to write letters, and still sometimes will install some accounting packages that will enable him to budget and control their home finances. You have that category, which is laptop computers, and we said that these are the computers that get their names from the fact that they can use that you can place them on your laps or while using. They are very small in size, and they have a structure of a briefcase. You can open and close the same way. They have a keyboard attached to them and a flat screen together with a mouse board and attachable batteries. This means that you can use them in rural areas where there is no electricity. And we said that the laptop computers are also have ports, that is small slot, through which you can attach an external keyboard, a mouse, or an external drive like a flash disk. So a laptop, as I can see, many of you have used it. It is just a computer device that you can carry. It is more flexible. You can move it from one state. You can move it from one point to another. We have classification number 3, that is classification by purpose, and we have different categories here. We start with the first one. We have special purpose computers, and we say that these are computers that are single task oriented computer. In other words, they are designed to solve only a particular type of a problem. For example, we have include embedded computers in our common digital watches. So these are computers that have defined purpose. They are They are designed to perform only a certain task. Second one, we have general purpose computers, and we say that these are the computers that can perform vast number of operations or solve problems of different varieties. And most of these computers are used today for general purpose. However, it is always known that general purpose computers can always be adapted with a special program to do a job specified, hence becoming a special purpose computer. So general computers, they are not designed to perform as designed tasks, but they have designed to perform different tasks at the same time. You can use it for financial, you can use it for in school, you can use it for learning. So these are computers that have not defined tasks, or they have not designed specific tasks that they need to perform. And lastly, we have the embedded computers, and we say that these are computers attached to other computers to help them in operating. So these are the computers that are added as to a general purpose of computer to help it to perform a task. So you have an example of it. You have a computer embedded to the lift, you have a computer embedded to the petrol station, and digital watches. We have another classification of computers, that is the type of data they process. Under each, we have various categories, and we start with number one. We say that analog computers. And we say that these are computers that process data that can vary continuously. For an example, variation in temperature, amount of current flowing through an electrical conductor, and so on. So the flow of data is in the form of a wave-like movement. So they process analog information. They process information that move in a wave-like movement. They are not predictable. The second type, we have the digital computers, and we say that as opposed to analog computer, these types of computer, they count things. Data can be passed to a digital computer. Data passed to the digital computer is usually operated on steps, i.e., we have form of discrete numbers. We have number 1, 2, 3, and it is like accounting one figures. We have 1, 2, 3, and most of computers used today are in digital form. Last, we have hybrid computers under categories of how data processed. We have hybrid computers, and we say that these are computers that possess features of both digital and analog computers. Both, which means both do counting and measuring operation in a computer. Thank you. So we have assignment here that you need to do. Say that in your groups you are required to discuss the following question. So the question number 1, you define the term computer. Second, you need to differentiate between data and information. And start, we say that what is a computer? You need to define the meaning of a computer program. And lastly, what are the four basic functions of a computer will perform under data. So you need to perform this question. You can do it. So students, that marks the end of our lesson of today. Say thank you for participating. Let's meet next time. Bye. Bye, class.